Welcome back to Random Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today? And I'm swinging out the gates. What song have I got stuck in my head? I don't even know what the song is. I think it's a Prince song, but it's a no, hold on. You don't have to be beautiful. What makes you beautiful? One Direction. That's on it. To turn me on. Oh, it's a Kiss. Oh no, a Kiss by Prince and Revolution. Okay, there you go. You might be like, why do you have that song stuck in your head? There's not really much of a good story behind it. It's just kind of weird, if anything. But good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 8:43 p.m. on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. It was very, very random. I was just like, being myself, vibing, relaxing, having a great time. And then suddenly, in my head, shot through like the song lyric of, you don't have to be beautiful, but said in like a really sort of breathy and sultry manner. And I was like, where on earth did that come from? I know my brain. And there's no way that this wasn't like, I'm not sure if it's a reference the right word, but no way that this wasn't from something. And I basically spent like, maybe not 2 days or so, but like a day and a bit, sort of pondering over it, being like, where's this from? Because like I know this is a song in my head. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is like a Prince song or something, which is weird because it's not like I particularly listened to Prince or anything like that. So I'm just like, I don't know why I know this song, and I don't know why I have this particular sort of like rendition in my head. And then it came to me. I was like, oh, this is like the way it's sung at the start of Happy Feet, that film from ages ago, which I remember watching actually in primary school. I watched it at a friend's house. And the reason I remember it is because he had like two sofas next to each other, and I was like sitting for some reason on like the armchair parts, I suppose, between both sofas. And then at some point I just like fell through the sofas, and I was like, you know what, it's pretty comfortable down here, because the sofas sort of like reach out, not convexly, which meant that I could just like sit underneath and like a little, I don't know, like a hut, I suppose. Like it's almost like a pillow fort made out of like two sofas. So really one of the most basic shapes that you can make, a triangle. And I remember watching it. And I don't know if I've actually spoken about this before, but Happy Feet is like, I very much did not clock it at a time when I watched it. But like, thinking back on it, it's a very like, horny movie, should I say? If anything, I suppose the whole mating scene, not mating scene, okay, well, that would be a whole different level, but like the mating song part of the beginning were very sort of sultry. I mean, like, you could just look at the female penguins' designs. They've all got like hourglass figures and things like that, which is, I don't know, like this sort of like sexual dimorphism, I suppose, which appears in Species, which, widely criticised, probably for good reason, of like this unfair portrayal. Mainly because it's more of a dimorphism of the fact that it does not affect, equally in presentations. It's always like hyper feminine, but there's no like hyper masculine, I suppose, version equivalent, like where the masculine version just tends to be just like a normal looking like animal creature. Like you've seen that meme, I suppose, of like Pixar creatures or whatever with the toucans, and it's like male toucan and it's just like a normal like cartoon toucan, or a female toucan, and it's just got like an hourglass body. It's got like heavy makeup on. It's got like and it's very strange, It's probably got like a bow on or something. Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, probably the biggest perpetrators of this. But yeah, I don't really know where I was going with this. Is this a conversation I'm going to be having? And to be fair, I think the most often tutored reason that it gets criticised is because it's like, misogynistic or something. No, I shouldn't say or something, but like it's not a misogynistic portrayal of that sort of thing. Where really, I suppose, the core of the issue as well is not just that. It's just more like it's okay, I mean, it is kind of like that, isn't it? But it's more like this imbalance of design. Like obviously there's this like how you say it, like this conversation of, I suppose, like gender inequality, which I probably am not like well versed enough to talk about, because that's not something I'm like well versed in. I haven't studied like these like gender sciences or political sciences or anything like this. Obviously I have my impression and my thoughts of obviously of equality and things like that, but that's quite like a layman's thing. It's sort of like, I think people should be like nice to each other in the world. It's sort of like a unhelpful to the conversation, but it also kind of say like, I mean, this is something I can like comment on a bit more from like a design perspective. It kind of really sucks from a design perspective as well, mainly because it doesn't like, I guess when you create a character, when you create a design, that sort of thing, a thing you got to ask yourself is like, what are you trying to convey with this design in the first place? Because it's like, I'm not like an expert cartoonist or anything like that, but I often think about these sort of things and like the perspective of media and the perspective of these creationary arts. You got to think about like the characters you have, and you got to think what is communicated by them and what you want communicated by them, right? Because it's the first thing that people see. Like, imagine you're making a cartoon, you have a design. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good example to take right off the bat. The Encanto ones always come to mind, I suppose, with like. Because I think the Encanto ones always tend to be pretty good. Because, Disney, the creators in Disney tend to be like pretty great at their craft, I suppose. More stifled by the business propositions, I suppose, of everything in the end. But taking the Encanto cast, it's an ensemble cast, so you don't really get a lot of time to interface with each of the characters. Like, obviously, you interface a lot with Mirabel, and then maybe like a little bit of Abuela, I suppose, but like the rest of the cast sort of like rotate in and out, kind of like here and there. But you only have so much time, especially because first impressions matter, to convey what a character is, who a character is, their like thoughts, their motivations in really that sort of snapshot, who they are and how do you make it memorable to the audience. And I think Encanto is one which does like a really good job of that, like conveying, you get the premise straight off about that, like everyone has these sort of powers, but what do you see from them when you see the characters themselves? Like Louise is obviously big and strong. She's like even got this sort of like stands in these like power poses of like a mountain shape, obviously reflecting this sort of like mountain ideology and thematic of her. It's obvious she's going to be strong. It's obviously she's going to be tough and, very well communicated, I suppose, with what she looks like. Or Isabella, on the other hand, is sort of like much more kind of amusingly playing into the trope of a Disney princess. She's got like this long sort of traditional sort of like gown-esque sort of dress on, flowers, everything in her hair. Long, like sort of flowing L'Oreal commercial shampoo advert hair, which, perfectly conveys this sort of like idea of like this idea of like feminine perfection, I suppose. It's like these sort of snippets like that. You got to really think about the designs of these elements and these designs and what they convey, right? So it's interesting to see, I suppose, when it's done like really weirdly as well. I'm trying to think of like the worst perpetrator of it. Like I say Mickey and Minnie Mouse, but I'm gonna cut them some slack, but they would like created like a 1920s or something, where it's something which is very much in its infancy, I suppose, of its character design. I mean, to be fair, not to just be like praise Disney, praise the creators of Disney. Mickey Mouse is a very iconic design, just 3 circles and stuff to convey the entire concept of a character. That's like fantastic. That's probably the most ideal thing you would ever want in a character. You have something so simple that as soon as people see it, people go, that's that character. That's like the dream, isn't it? You can only dream of having a character design that iconic, that recognizable, that people would be like, yes, that's it. I mean, like, what else would be in that category? I think like Mario's hat might be in that sort of category, but Mario's hat is not like as iconically shaped, but maybe the mustache might be, the nose and mustache might be a better option where people will look at it and be like, yes, that's Mario. Superman, I think as well, with that S shape in general, and very much is the sort of the superhero that people, I think, picture when they think of it. Having these iconic designs is fantastic, just I think it would be a dream, I suppose, if you were like a character designer and being like, yes, a character can be so clearly represented by such few things. It's like those memes that you see around the place of like, oh, here the characters were just like their color palettes just like as rectangles or something, and look how iconic they are. And people can look across and be like, oh yes, that's The Simpsons, oh that's South Park, oh that's like SpongeBob or something like that. But the palettes themselves being like iconic is, I mean, part of it I'm sure is just due to notoriety of like being ubiquitous around the place. Would SpongeBob be as popular or like as recognizable if the cartoons weren't airing like basically every single day on Nickelodeon for like the past 20 years? No, probably not, but it's sort of like a hand-in-hand thing, right? Can't have one without the other. The design sort of stick in your head because of that, right? So, I mean, I hesitate to say things like bad design, necessarily. One, because I'm not an industry professional or anything like that. I don't think it's particularly fair of me to critique it like this. It's, it's sort of like a food critic who doesn't know how to cook. Well, necessarily a food critic doesn't necessarily have to know how to cook. You would think it leads more credence to... Excuse me. Excuse me, I'm just dying. You would think it would lead more credence to the opinions they hold because they have like a basis of where it's coming from. not just from an observer perspective, but from a creative perspective as well. But yeah, anyway, so sort of circling back to the sort of like dimorphic design, which is very popular, and I think especially in anime, if anything. The thing I say, I mean, perhaps most obviously is I say about like animals or anthropomorphized characters in the first place, where the male character, quote unquote, masculine character, presenting character tends to be just like the normal version of a character, and then the feminine one just tends to be hyper feminized to a point where it's just like, this doesn't make sense from character design. One, because it's not being shown unilaterally, I suppose, across this made up species you made. And I think that probably the worst thing, which you definitely see all the time in these sort of like anime-esque portrayals, which is why I think Beastars is like a nice sort of breath of fresh air, because I feel like it does the dimorphism like correctly, like balanced. Like, what's a good example? Like, where the male character will be like a werewolf, like this gruff werewolf or something, this like this absolute beast, and then the feminine character will just be like a human person with like wolf ears and like a wolf tail or something, like a kimono character. That's what kimono character or whatever. That's what they're called, right? Sort of like humans with these animalistic traits, which is like this obvious imbalance of design here. It's just like this doesn't conceivably feel like the same species, which I think is a failure of storytelling, if anything. And I mean, that's kind of like why I think Beastars is like a good way of doing that if you want to draw these like anthropomorphic species. Like, they're obviously, they've got very human traits, like Legoshi is very like quite muscular, and you know, obviously they have much more human features that you might expect from an animal, but it's done like sort of unilaterally across both directions. I think there's probably some like species which are a lot more inconsistent. Like if you read a manga, like I don't really know why like sea creatures still just look like sea creatures and stuff like that, but you know, whatever. The manga very much sort of went like off the rails, I think, with its lore, but you know, it's looking at it from like an isolated instant like that, it's like, yeah, okay, cool, I can see how that works. And then I mean, Beastars still keeps his like these animalistic traits, you know, rabbit like Haru is significantly smaller than like other creatures which would be taller. There's like a giraffe student which has a long neck. I mean, if you get to like pick and choose these things as they come along, right? But yeah, I don't know, just as like the communication of a character through their design is an important thing, and it's not just important, I think, from I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not just important from looking at the perspective of this singular character. Yes, it is important. This is important, but if this character is a part of a world, it's part of a universe or something where there is, you know, other characters of the same species. It's important that the characters portrayed and like feels like they properly fit in. You know, things like this. It's just like men drawing women sort of subreddit, which I, you know, browse upon from time to time. Mainly because they have like a sanity day, I can't remember which day it is, where we have like good designs and things like that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like looking at good designs. It's not really that fun to look at bad designs, but I guess it is also, you know, educational to learn from them and the mistakes they make at the same time. Sometimes on purposely, sometimes not, you know. Obviously, a lot of these things are sort of done in the design or fan service, or done for like done for a particular audience, right? You know, that's at the end of the day, you know, if it's a business, if it's something within this sort of like a product being created, of course, there's always considerations to go in with the audience you're targeting, and you know, it's not something which, you know, I can fault it from a creative perspective, but like, can you fault it from a business perspective? And the answer goes like, kind of, no, that's just kind of like how it is, isn't it? Which is why I suppose it often feels like these creative and business decisions are often at ends of each other, which is perhaps no surprise to anyone, I think. Even if you are even vaguely aware of the industry, right? But yeah, I don't really know where I was going with this, to be honest, because I didn't really have like any examples lined up. I just the fact they spawned from Happy Feet. Anyway, Happy Feet's designs are interesting. Well, I don't know. I guess the dimorphism goes a little bit both ways. I'm trying to think of like a recent show or something which does it well, but I can't really think of like what Disney's recent shows. Does Zootopia do it well? I don't know, because Zootopia always struck me as a bit strange, as it's very inconsistent with how it portrays a lot of different animals, you know. Like why the hamster's like so tiny, but the rabbits are like significantly larger than, you know, the hamsters are in the first place. Obviously, it's just make this like sort of fun world building joke in the end of the day, but there's a lot of like strange inconsistencies with size and how humanoid something appears. But at the end of the day, you know, I wouldn't put that much credence, that much like analysis into it, because at the end of the day, it sort of boils down to, oh, it needs to kind of look appealing to human audiences. It's not like we're appealing to the population of rabbits out there, right? Maybe we're, I don't know. That'd be interesting. Making media properties for like animals, or even non-sentient exist things in general. I don't know how that would work. Whoa! I wonder how it would work with like making a movie for AI to enjoy the most, because obviously, you know, I feel it conceivable that you could make like a review bot AI or something who reviews movies and gives it a score based on something, but you could sort of like game the system by like what would be the perfect 10 out of 10 movie for an AI to give. I don't know. I didn't really think about that. Anyway, dimorphic design, I suppose. You know what's a very popular series which actually does dimorphic design, you know, pretty damn well? Pokemon. And you might be like, Pokemon doesn't have dimorphic design. If you are a filthy casual, no, I'm joking, but if you're not that into Pokemon, you probably wouldn't even be aware. But yeah, Pokemon has quite a lot of dimorphic designs, and a lot of them are just very like rudimentary things, and there's also a decent amount which presumably are based in nature as well. I'm not, of course, an animal expert, so it's not really my place to say, but if they have like animalistic influences or something, like what's it like, I can't remember which way around it is, but like the male insects have like larger antennae, and then like the female ones might have like shorter ones or something. It's stuff like that, you know. Like the one that I can only think of off the top of my head is like how the Venusaur has like the female Venusaur has like a seed in the flower, and the male one has nothing, which is always like a it's such a tiny little difference, but you know, that's just like sometimes how dimorphism works in nature. And like what's I'm trying to think of one which is representative of like a peacock and peahen sort of thing, where like the male of the species is very sort of colourful, because you know that's how the sort of like attraction of mates comes in nature. How the female of the species tends to be much more muted colours. What's that called? What's that bird called? The what in pheasant? The Unova bird. You know, has that sort of design, right? Where the female in pheasant has this sort of like brown sort of colour scheme, very sort of like turned down and everything. But the male one has like these giant long like red antennae looking things. It's like it's got a mask. It's got this brilliant sort of like jade hue for its body as well. Now that's dimorphism done right, probably. At least in my opinion. Of course, it's a very subjective opinion of me, someone who's done no prep work to think about what this means, or like what any of this is or whatsoever. But yeah, I don't know. just sort of came to mind. Maybe I can find a meme. Dimorphism meme. I spelled meme wrong. Fictional races be like. Let me also make the thumbnail art, I suppose, while we're at it. Which I don't know what I'm going to do with this thumbnail art. Obviously, I need to continue making the actual one. I need to record some at Cameo as well. I was meant to record yesterday, and then I just really didn't feel like it, so I didn't. It's busy. Busy all the time. Everything's always busy. Everything busy all at once. What colour should I use? Let's use a purple. Why not? And then, I don't know, what should I do for the thing? I'll put a bow onto his head just to sort of poke fun at that. I don't even know what to do for flavour text here. What's that meme? It's like, stop doing this, I will now buy your game. Wait, what do I just put? Stop. Nah, I don't want to make it back clickbaity. I don't know where I was going with this, to be honest. I will now buy your game. That's a meme I was thinking of. What's going on with some of these? I don't know. Apparently there's a lot of memes to do with dimorphism. what the etymology of dimorphism is. Let's see. Dimorphism, I guess two, then morphism would be like sort of shape. Two distinct forms. Alright, I'm going to be boring with flavor text. 1. I'm going to put line. 2. Beautiful. I'm so clever. You can tell I'm running out of things like to do with this thumbnail art, so I really gotta actually like finish it at some point. Anyway, I don't know. Look at all these memes I suppose to do with dimorphism. Anyway, I'm not really like an expert at all to do with dimorphism or like how it works in the natural world. I'm just very much coming at it from a perspective of like a character design perspective, which is very restricted, I suppose, in the viewer can consider things, but still. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here, so if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been dear darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.